We will now hear from DIA's 22nd Director, Lieutenant General Scott D. Berrier. Prior to DIA, General Berrier served as the 46th G2 of the Army, serving as the Principal Military Intelligence and Counterintelligence Advisor. Sir, okay. The floor is yours, sir.
Thanks. Hey, listen, I just told Doug, it's not a lot of fun following him because he's so good at what he does. And Doug, you know, it was having you as our CIO these last 3 years has been great. You're a fantastic leader. You moved to Friction. You lead a great team. So thanks for everything you do. A round of applause for Doug Cossa, please. Yeah. So I was at the National Air and Space Intelligence Center and the National Space Intelligence Center yesterday in Wright, Pat. What great organizations. What they do to keep us ahead of our adversaries is really something. I thought I'd give them a shout out. But then we flew from Dayton into Chicago. Got on a plane in Chicago, sitting back in coach, and I was sitting next to a gentleman who is in this room tonight. I don't know his name, but I'm really proud of him because he was having a conversation with his family, and we were sitting so close to one another I couldn't help but hear it, and it was a discussion about where his children would sleep that night, or last night. And I think he was writing checks that he couldn't cash because he wasn't there. Once that phone call was over, it was really kind of cute. There was a nosy gal sitting next to him asking him what his business was in Portland, and he's like, I'm on business. I'm on a business trip. She said, well, what are you going to do there? And he said, I'm going to a conference. And she said, well, what kind of conference? And he said, it's an IT conference. And she continued to interrogate. And he wouldn't give her the goods. He never said DoD. He never said DoDIIS. He never said JWICS. He never said top secret. So to that individual, you know who you are. You're in here. Well done, sir. You get a gold star for OPSEC, so thank you. So, yeah. So whenever I travel, I normally start my day speaking with my bride, Annie, back in D.C. So this morning at 3:30, I'm staring at the ceiling in our hotel room, and I decided to give her a call. She was up having coffee, and she said, hey, honey, what are you going to talk about at DoDIIS? And I said, well, I think a couple things. Number one, I'm going to talk about how awesome DIA is and what we do. And then I said, I think I'm going to approach the R word. Retirement. And she said, no, don't do that. Don't bring those wonderful people into your personal trauma space with, transition, having to buy a house, what comes next after 39 plus years, and all the weird headspace that we're in right now. Don't bring them into that. But talking about DI is okay. So that's what I think that I will do. Doug sort of laid the groundwork for where we're going with this year's DoDIIS with chaos. So I really do want to focus on what an awesome organization we have in the Defense Intelligence Agency, in your Defense Intelligence Agency. So if you were to ask me, what is DIA for? What is DI for? What I would tell you is that we are for foundational military intelligence. That is to say, that we must be the master sense makers of the strategic, operational, and tactical military environments around the world. We must understand who the adversaries are. We must understand who the competitors are. We must understand how militaries are trained, equipped, organized, where they're at, what they have, how they would fight, when they would fight, why they would fight, what their will to fight would be. That is what we are here for. That is DIA's mission. We do that through all-source analysis and intelligence operations. Let me say that again. We do that through all-source analysis and intelligence operations, leveraging those authorities that we have under Title 50. We take our stuff, human collection, technical collection, all the other stuff that's out there, and we roll those into foundational all-source intelligence assessments that create our finished intelligence that we do every day on behalf of the Department of Defense with my battle buddy, Dimitri Henry, as the Joint Staff J2. So that is what we are for. But I would say that today's DIA, your DIA today, is not the same as yesterday's DIA, your DIA 10 years ago. This is not your mom or your dad's DIA. This is a very different DIA. Over the last 3 years, we have been on a journey with a couple of pivots. We have pivoted to strategic competition, intelligence support to strategic competition. That is bringing those Title 50 authorities we have to help illuminate opportunities for the Department of Defense and their Title 10 strategic competition pace. And so as we think about that and what it means that we had to reorganize, retool, change a little culture inside the organization. For the first time ever, we have created what I call a J3 for DIA, our Deputy Director for Global Integration, who has the authorities in place to move assets, people, things, places, materials, everything to where we need it to be to focus on the right threats at the right time. Within our Deputy Directorate for Global Integration, we've also created a Partner Mission Integration Office, which for the first time takes all of our partnerships, whether they're foreign partnerships, civilian partnerships, industrial partnerships, academic partnerships, think tank partnerships, and others, into one space where we have a partnership common operating picture, where we can see what partners we need to invest in and perhaps what partners we need to divest of based on changing global situation. We've also created this thing called the Strategic Competition Group. These are officers that just think about our hardest problems and what we could leverage under Title 50 to bring solutions. We've also revised and retooled our analytics space here in our integrated intelligence centers with a stand-up of the China Mission Group in the Indo-Pacific Regional Center. And I've said this a couple of times. Barack Obama, our former president, said, hey, we need to pivot to the Pacific. He said that, I think, in 2011, 2012. In 2023, we actually did that with the stand-up of a combined intelligence center in Australia there in Canberra, working with our Australian partners and others. So we've had to do this because as I reflect now on my 39 years of service, the threats are different, but it feels a little, 2024 feels a little like 1984. In that first Army that I was in as a young man, my first assignment was in Alaska, and I was a light infantry battalion S2, and our job there was, one of the jobs was to defend the Alyeska pipeline, critical infrastructure at certain nodes. And the thought was that Soviet Spetsnaz would attempt to seize parts of that critical infrastructure, destroy it. My 22-year-old brain didn't think that that was a great idea. I thought it was kind of stupid. My 62-year-old brain thinks that that was brilliant. And as we have seen lay out and play out in the last several years, critical infrastructure is really, really important. Just ask our Ukrainian partners today as the threat of a really terrible winter faces them. So that was 1984. It was the standoff of the U.S. and the Soviets, the Warsaw Pact, NATO. I thought that was pretty bad, just based on the number of nuclear weapons and everything else going on. That was strategic competition, and it wasn't really even called strategic competition. We won that fight because we outspent our competitors. We outthought them. We did intelligence better than they did. And then when you fast forward through that 39 years, that period between about 1990 and 2001 where we got really good as a military, all services, training hard. For a war that would not come, but what did come was a horrendous blow on 9/11, and that was a different military to be in altogether. Many of you in this room have participated in that military in whatever service, years of deployments and the agony therein. And then as we came out of that, around 2015, 2016, 2017, when we started thinking about things differently, we started thinking about the pacing threat, China, the acute threat, Russia, what those regional threats, Iran, North Korea, really meant, and how it is we would deal with violent extremist organizations going forward. My thinking on that was shaped as the Army G2, and we started to think about our modernization. That thinking has evolved in my tenure here at DIA, as we are really, really in a dangerous environment now. When I think about the Russia-Ukraine conflict, when I think about the People's Republic of China and what they want, what they're doing, and you've heard the dates of 2025, 2027, 2035, 2049, I have a tendency to take these leaders at their word, and we should take that very, very seriously. And DIA, an organization committed to excellence in defense of the nation, committed to excellence in defense of the nation takes these threats very, very seriously. And as Doug mentioned earlier, with the crisis in Russia, Ukraine, and with the crisis in the Middle East between Israel and Hamas, we have had to retool how we do business with the stand-up of integrated crises groups, Russia, integrated crisis group, Middle East, to really focus our efforts and our talent by, with, and through our J2 and the combatant commands to be able to understand, see insight, and provide decision space to our national leadership. And I'm very, very proud of this team because I think we do that very, very, very well. All of that is underpinned by technology. And Doug so clearly said it here on the stage just a few minutes ago. Everything that we're doing in the network space with JWICS is key to our foundation and our success. It's actually key to foundational military intelligence. Other programs like MARS, the Machine-Assisted Analytic Rapid Repository System, in years past, we were talking about its development. Well, it's here, and now we are implementing that, and we have a plan to implement over the next couple of years to finally sunset MIDB. Many of you know what that is. I won't bore you with the details, but with the instantiation of MARS, with a revitalized JWICS network, fully modernized, more secure than ever, pushing around data in ways that we haven't thought about before, taking advantage of big data and tools to be able to do so much, much more in this space. I feel really good about your Defense Intelligence Agency and the trajectory it's on, and very, very proud to have served as its 22nd director, and look forward actually to Jeff Cruz, United States Air Force, and a good friend, taking the mantle here in very, very short order. So thank you for coming to DoDIIS. You're in good hands with this CIO team, and I trust you'll have a good conference. Thanks very much.